As a country that has just emerged from the flames of war, Afghanistan's economy is in a very bad state, and many foreign companies do not have much expectations for this land. However, there is a country that has not given up on Afghanistan, but is trying every means to help this country on the verge of collapse out of its predicament. This country is China. In October this year, China announced that it would implement zero-tariff treatment for all tariff items of Afghanistan, which means that more Afghan goods can enter the Chinese market duty-free. In addition, Chinese companies have signed a pine nut industry cooperation agreement with Afghanistan. You should know that last year, Afghanistan's total exports to China reached $64 million, of which nearly 90% were shelled pine nuts. So, in the face of such generous help from China, what can a resource-poor country like Afghanistan bring to China? Are there any deeper strategic considerations behind China's help? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now let's get into today's topic. Since 2001, Afghanistan has been mired in the quagmire of war. And it was not until the Taliban returned to power in 2021 that the war that lasted for more than 20 years came to an end. After the U.S. withdrawal, Afghanistan is facing more than just the trauma of the war. The United States has also frozen Afghanistan's nearly $10 billion in overseas assets. At the same time, without the aid from the United States and Western countries, Afghanistan was completely blocked and sanctioned, and the economic situation was worse. So far, 3 years have passed since the full withdrawal of the United States, but Afghanistan's economy is still in a state of chaos. Rising prices and the lack of external economic cooperation and investment have made life very difficult for the people of this country. As of 2023, Afghanistan's GDP is only $17.23 billion, and its per capita GDP is only $493, making it one of the least developed countries in the world. Although Afghanistan's situation is so difficult, there are still some countries that maintain contact with Afghanistan. Since the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan in 2021, China has actively contacted Afghanistan to discuss humanitarian assistance and economic reconstruction. It is understood that at that time, China provided more than $66 million of emergency humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan, including food, winter supplies, vaccines, and medicines. In addition, China also helped Afghanistan repair water conservancy facilities and assisted in the construction of a series of livelihood projects, such as the Kabul Republic Hospital and Kabul University. China hopes to drive Afghanistan's economic growth through its huge market demand and gradually strengthen trade cooperation. Data show that in 2022, China's exports to Afghanistan reached $553 million, while Afghanistan's exports to China were only $42 million. In 2023, China's total exports to Afghanistan further increased to $1.269 billion, a year-on-year increase of 130.9%. Afghanistan's exports to China also reached $63.9613 million, a year-on-year increase of 52.4%. These data show that China's support for the Afghan economy has achieved remarkable results. What is more exciting is that this year China announced a larger-scale aid plan, which will bring new development hopes to Afghanistan. So, what kind of aid is this? In October this year, the Chinese ambassador to Afghanistan released a photo of a meeting with Afghan Acting Deputy Prime Minister Kabir, saying that the two sides had in-depth exchanges on enhancing cooperation. China officially announced that it would provide Afghanistan with zero-tariff treatment for 100% of tariff items, which means that Afghanistan's products in many fields such as construction, energy, and consumer goods will be able to enter the Chinese market tariff-free. This policy is expected to significantly increase Afghanistan's exports to China and create a large number of jobs for Afghanistan. Data shows that Afghanistan's exports to China have increased by 11.5% this year and are expected to increase by 25% next year. It is worth noting that as China's support for Afghanistan continues to increase, some people have questioned what benefits a poor country like Afghanistan, which has difficulty even being self-sufficient, can bring to China. Is China really doing charity? At first, some people believed that Afghanistan's main export commodities were agricultural products, especially pine nuts, and Afghan pine nuts are indeed very popular in the Chinese market. Last year, Afghanistan's total export value to China was about $64 million, of which nearly 90% came from pine nuts. These people believe that by increasing the import of Afghan pine nuts, China will not only help promote the agricultural development of Afghanistan, but also increase the income of local farmers and improve their living standards. However, in my opinion, although China does import a large amount of Afghan pine nuts, the export volume of this agricultural product is still limited, and it is difficult to have a significant impact on the overall Afghan economy. Therefore, the pine nut trade alone is not enough to become the main driving force for the deepening of China-Afghanistan economic and trade cooperation. In fact, the day before China announced that it would implement zero tariffs on 100% of Afghanistan's tariff items, the energy minister of the Afghan Taliban government led a delegation to visit China and attended the Belt and Road Energy Ministers meeting. At the meeting, the Taliban energy minister clearly expressed Afghanistan's desire to join the Belt and Road Initiative. He pointed out that although Afghanistan's economy is relatively poor, it is rich in mineral resources, which brings huge potential for cooperation between the two sides. It can be seen that Afghanistan has expectations for cooperation with China in the field of mineral resources, which also partly explains why China implements a comprehensive zero-tariff policy for Afghanistan. China's assistance and support is not limited to agricultural product trade, but also focuses on the long-term interests of Afghanistan's mineral resource development and in-depth cooperation between the two sides. You know, Afghanistan, this mysterious and rich land, is extremely rich in resources. Afghanistan not only has about 3.6 billion barrels of oil reserves, but also has huge mineral wealth. According to surveys, Afghanistan's iron ore contains 69% iron, with a total reserve of about 42 billion tons, even exceeding the reserves of Brazil and Australia. Its zinc ore contains 38% zinc, and its copper ore has metal reserves of more than 10 million tons. In addition, the land is rich in precious resources, such as rare earth elements. According to estimates by the United States Geological Survey, the total value of Afghanistan's untapped mineral resources is about $3 trillion. However, due to technical and infrastructure limitations, the development and utilization of these resources have been difficult to achieve. In this case, facing the multifaceted assistance provided by China from the beginning, the Afghan Taliban government also hopes to use China's technology and financial strength to develop these mineral resources. If Afghanistan's mineral resources can be effectively developed, it will not only alleviate the domestic economic difficulties, but also promote the comprehensive development of its various industries. Through this opportunity, Afghanistan may gradually get rid of the impact of sanctions and blockades and move towards true economic independence and social stability. This also means that Afghanistan may enter a new stage of development and achieve sustainable development of the country. As early as 2023, China National Petroleum Corporation signed a 25-year oil exploration agreement with the Taliban government of Afghanistan, planning to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to develop Afghanistan's oil resources. More importantly, China National Petroleum Corporation also plans to build the first crude oil refinery in Afghanistan to help Afghanistan improve its oil self-sufficiency. In addition to oil cooperation, the Taliban also mentioned an important agreement 16 years ago during their visit to China. At that time, Chinese companies had signed a copper mining agreement with the Karzai government of Afghanistan. However, due to the influence of civil war and external factors, this project has not been successfully launched. Today, As the domestic situation in Afghanistan gradually stabilizes, the copper mine project has also ushered in an opportunity to restart. It is understood that this cooperation agreement, with a total value of up to $5 billion will focus on the development and processing of ANAC copper mine, Afghanistan's largest copper mine base. At present, the proven reserves of ANAC copper mine are 11.5 million tons, making it the world's second largest copper mine base. With the start of the construction of the access road, the project is about to resume work in full. At the same time, the smooth progress of the AMU Darya oil field project has brought more than $40 million in revenue to Afghanistan. It is worth noting that there is a more far-reaching strategic consideration behind the Taliban's visit to promote mineral cooperation. At present, China-Afghanistan trade mainly relies on rail transportation, and goods need to pass through Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and finally reach the port of Haratin in Afghanistan. However, as a country bordering China, Afghanistan naturally hopes to export directly through the border between the two countries. Therefore, the Taliban proposed the opening of the Wakhan Corridor during this visit to China. The Wakhan Corridor is located at the junction of China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan. It is the only land route between China and Afghanistan. Once opened, this corridor will significantly improve the efficiency of trade between China and Afghanistan. However, China remains cautious in promoting the Wakhan Corridor and Afghanistan's participation in the Belt and Road Initiative, mainly because the security situation in Afghanistan is still unstable and the long-term stability of the Taliban regime remains to be seen. Perhaps many people will think that the main purpose of China's 100% zero-tariff treatment is to obtain Afghanistan's mineral resources. But in fact, as early as the Beijing summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in September this year, China announced a policy to provide 100% zero-tariff treatment for all least developed countries that have established diplomatic relations with China, including 33 African countries. Afghanistan, as the least developed country recognized by the United Nations, naturally also enjoys this policy benefit. Therefore, from this background, China's support for Afghanistan is not simply for mineral resources, but also reflects its determination to promote local economic development and fulfill international responsibilities. So, what do you think of China's strategic considerations? To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.